Hey, it's Baz, filmmaker, dad, and the guy behind 20 Minute Gamer. Today I'm jumping into the Last Campfire, a game I knew almost nothing about going in. I hadn't heard much chatter about it at all, but the visual style caught my eye and it felt like the kind of quiet, thoughtful indie that might either really click with me or gently bounce off me. So I thought, let's do what this channel does best and see whether it can hook me in those first 20 minutes. Quick pause before we go on. If you've been enjoying these videos, thank you so much genuinely. This channel's only really been going properly since March 2025 and the comments and support have been lovely. If you haven't subscribed yet and this kind of calm, honest first impression review is your thing, feel free to join us. No pressure, just glad you're here. Right, campfire's lit, let's go. Story. On the surface, the story here is quite simple, but it feels like there's a lot going on under the hood. You play as a small creature called an ember. Early on, you're travelling by boat with other embers down a river, all seemingly heading towards the same destination. Then things go a little bit wrong. You lose your oar, you drift off course, and you get separated from the others, who all seem to be heading towards a mysterious flame while you're carried away further downstream. As you explore, you encounter embers that appear to be frozen and lifeless. You then meet a ghostly figure whose role it is to guide embers from one life to the next, except something is broken and no one can move on. Your task becomes guiding the lost blue flames to these stranded embers, restoring them so that they can continue their journey. It is kind of an interesting setup, and I do appreciate how much of it is left open to interpretation. That said, I never really felt truly hooked by the story in just the first 20 minutes. A lot of it is delivered via a voiceover, and I found it surprisingly long-winded for such a short play session. I did catch myself wanting to skip the dialogue a few times, which isn't ideal when the whole point is whether the game earns your time quickly. Ironically, I think this story might have worked better with less explanation. Let me string things together through visuals, sound, and the environment, and that would have added more intrigue rather than being told so much up front. Score, 6 out of 10. Controls. So the controls are about as straightforward as they come. You move with either the keyboard or a controller, and almost everything, climbing, pulling, pushing things, is mapped to a single action button. There's no friction here at all, which is a good thing. You're never fighting the controls, you're never confused about what the game wants from you, but at the same time there's nothing especially novel or surprising going on here. They work, they're clean, and they stay out of the way, which is probably exactly what the game intended. Score, 5 out of 10. Atmosphere. Atmospherically, there is a lot to like here. I did feel a genuine curiosity to explore, even within the fairly guided linear spaces. The art style is appealing, the world feels cohesive, and the audio does a lot of heavy lifting here, which I'll come back to in a moment. That said, I never fully lost myself in this world. The core loop of guide the flame back to his body feels very gamey, and it constantly reminded me that I was solving a puzzle game rather than inhabiting a place. If this is primarily a puzzle game, which I guess it is, then it's a very nicely wrapped one. I just never felt truly immersed. Score, 6 out of 10. Music and sound. This is where the game was really impressive. The sound design is excellent. Everything feels tactile, grounded, and thoughtfully placed. Ambient audio changes from area to area rather than relying on generic forest noises, and that extra effort is noticeable. The voiceover, slightly less so for me. I couldn't quite place the accent either. It was somewhere between Welsh and Scandinavian, and yes, I know those are wildly different.
Ember felt so afraid and alone that it was a relief to find someone to talk to. Ember froze, almost too frightened to look away, when they noticed a small satchel.
The delivery itself is good and very fairy tale-like, but again, it's the quantity that really wore on me. Now, the music is absolutely outstanding. There's a full orchestral score here, it's beautifully composed, and it perfectly matches the tone of the world. It honestly elevated the entire experience for me and made the game feel richer than it perhaps is mechanically. There's a fun fact as well, the composer also worked on Discworld Noir, which I played back on the PC in the late 90s, and I absolutely loved that game, so it was genuinely great to hear more of his work here. Score, 8 out of 10. Graphics and style. Visually, the game has a strong, memorable identity. It leans slightly into the kind of Studio Ghibli-esque aesthetic, stylized characters, expressive environments, and a softness that suits the tone. The use of light is particularly effective. The cold blue flame really does beckon in these darker spaces, and you can absolutely understand why the embers would be drawn to it. Up close, the models aren't especially detailed, but that doesn't really matter. For a puzzle-focused indie game, the style is distinctive, and even if the game didn't fully click with me, I know I'll remember how it looks. Score, 7 out of 10. Gameplay. In my 20 minutes, I clicked through a fair amount of dialogue. I watched a few cutscenes, I did some light platforming, and I tackled several puzzles. Most puzzles revolve around safely guiding a blue flame back to its body. Early on, I found things almost too straightforward. I even solved one puzzle mentally before I'd officially been introduced it as a puzzle, which made it feel a little underwhelming. That said, the final puzzle I reached completely stumped me. Whether that's on me or a sudden difficulty spike, I'm not entirely sure, but I did just find it a little bit frustrating. Interestingly, the frustration also made me want to keep playing it just to get past that, so there we go. So while the gameplay didn't really pull me in emotionally, it did succeed in nudging me forward mechanically, which is worth acknowledging. Score, 6 out of 10. Standout moment for me. I'll be honest, I did struggle to pick a specific standout moment. If anything, I guess it's the music that stayed with me the most. If that counts as a moment, then that's mine, and I'm slightly ashamed to admit that. Final verdict, is this worth 20 minutes? This is a thoughtful, well-made game that will absolutely appeal to fans of puzzle-driven indie titles, especially if you enjoy being told a story and reflecting on it as you play. If, like me, you prefer a bit more hands-on gameplay in your first 20 minutes, or you enjoy discovering the narrative through play rather than exposition, then this one might not fully land. There is definitely a good game here, I just don't think it's one that reveals itself quickly, and I'm not convinced it really earns that time investment early on enough for my taste. I might revisit it someday when I'm in the right mood, but for now, it didn't quite pull me in. Final score, 6 out of 10. What do you think then? Have you played The Last Campfire? Did the story resonate with you, or did the voiceover wear thin too? And do you prefer puzzle games that explain everything, or ones that let you figure it all out for yourself? Let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading them and responding. If you're anything like me, you don't have hours and hours to sink into every game, and that's what this channel's all about, seeing whether a game can hook you in just those first 20 minutes. And I'll see you on the next one.